Do you fear being labeled crazy names? Do you fear being labeled xenophobic? Do you fear being called racist? Do you fear being labeled a bigot? Will you try by all means to please communists and radical leftists by shutting your mouth? Are you going to hold your breath when something stinks instead of opening the window so that we can ventilate the stink openly for all the facts to be laid bare? This is our country. This is your country. You own it. If you are a legitimate citizen of this country, then whatever happens here is your business, and you have every right to speak up and not be intimidated into silence by anyone. Welcome to Citizen Concern, where we remind you to beware of the comrades. I'm Katlego, and if you're new here, may you please subscribe. Some of you are not even new, so please subscribe. Some of you might be haters, but since you like to keep in touch with what we do here, you too should subscribe. This little story is exactly what we were talking about not so long ago. If we do not start taking our institutions and making sure we keep an eye on minimum requirements, we will find South African citizens being locked out of their rightful inheritance by foreigners who seek to take over this country and take advantage of the poor performance by the ANC. There are people who are not happy to simply do their drug dealing, car smuggling, and fake prophetic ministries only. They would love to be South African too. They will do corrupt activities and still pursue an ID so that they may be called South Africans. Many of these foreigners that the EFF wants to force on you are willing to do illegal deeds in order to be South Africans. The Home Affairs Department was compromised long ago. So now the news comes out. The Miss South Africa contestant Chidimma Adetshina is not South African after all. The people that will fool you are people like the EFF's Julius Malema and Naledi Chirwa, who want you to be scared of protecting your country from being overcrowded by foreigners. People who want you to be ashamed of being patriotic. You as a South African must be careful of being fooled by those people and by people that support those people.
Another top part that is pressing on is another black woman that is hating on the other black woman and pressing them and killing them and sabotaging them and doing all these negative things. Sure. Right? So for me, is that because she looks weak, she looks fragile, it's easier for us to attack. That is my stance.
So it is exactly that. I spoke about it on radio yesterday. I said South Africans have found it easier to attack black women because we are weaker. We are seen as weaker.
So that South Africa gets somewhere. And it's unfair for us to use these social media platforms to pull each other down. I will not be apologetic about supporting our own.
A lot of people are in poverty, a lot of people are unemployed. There are reasons for that. If you think that the real problem of South Africa's structural crisis and the reason why people are suffering so hard in South Africa is because of black immigrants from African countries, you haven't understood South Africa's history or the shape of its economy. And we truly need to uproot economic inequality in South Africa. We truly need to have a fair immigration system and enforce laws, but we cannot devolve into a society that looks at the weakest possible victims and bullies those people to make ourselves feel better that we're somehow doing something just and fair.
Born in South Africa. Hey, she's South African, yo swine! She's South African, yo massa! She's fucking South African. Bye.
But also people that contribute is black women themselves. Number one, I spoke about the fact that I wouldn't be part of an organization that is dishonest. There was proper vetting that was done, proper research was done, proper documentation were received. She is South African. Do you understand? I am putting my head on the table and basing whatever that's happening on facts and not gossip and narrative that's been put out on social media, right? Africans don't have the time or the resources or the capacity to actually, or to, the effort to make a research.
Born in South Africa, raised by South Africa, therefore she is a South African. She can't call Nigeria home, even though her parents may be Nigerian or wherever they may be from. Like, that is beside the point. So if she was a white girl and she was half French, this girl has to suffer because she's black and she's female.
There are many podcasters who support this nonsense. There are many celebrities who support this nonsense. And they want to divert your attention from the influx of foreigners into South Africa to white South Africans. They want you to blame white South Africans for everything wrong in South Africa. Normal white citizens of the country are the ones that the EFF and those that support them want to victimize. Personally, I do not want anyone to be victimized. Not black, white, Indian or colored South Africans. Not even foreigners in South Africa. I do, however, want the facts to be spoken about freely without anyone feeling like they are being xenophobic, bigots, or anything like that for telling the truth. South Africa, it's not the fault of white people that the ANC failed to do its job of making our lives better. It's not the fault of white people that the ANC has sought to please the unions and the communists in this country by adopting policies that make economies fail. Back to the foreigners in South Africa that we are called xenophobic for saying anything negative about. When some of these people buy IDs in South Africa, what happens? They can easily become citizens able to get the benefits that should be going to the true citizens of this country. Benefits that many South Africans are already not getting because they are at a deficit. That foreigners' children can easily become citizens too, since mummy and daddy have already bought identity documents. That child can easily become elected or placed into positions that should be held by South African citizens only. That is the reason why many people have been complaining about Adetshina, the Miss South Africa contestant. It is not a matter of disliking her or having any ill will against her as an individual. It is about the bigger picture. Many people are complaining about the lady because of the implications of a non-South African competing in Miss South Africa, potentially winning and representing South Africa on world stages. It's not xenophobia, it's common sense. Why is that so hard for some people to comprehend? If we have a habit of being relaxed about entry requirements or qualifying criteria, then we should not complain when mediocrity becomes our way of life. Rules and requirements are there to set and maintain a certain standard, and the absence of them leads to a degradation of standards. Through the years, the Miss South Africa company changed the rules and entry requirements. Growing up, we knew that in order to enter Miss South Africa, you had to be a female, young, unmarried, with no children. Now, the Miss South Africa company allows anyone between 20 and 30 years old. You may have children, you may be married, you may be divorced. To make matters worse, you can be a man to be Miss South Africa. You don't even have to be a woman anymore. If you're a man and choose to get your ID changed to say that you're a woman, you will qualify to be a contestant of Miss South Africa. Imagine that. As much as people want to say this company running the Miss South Africa competition knows what it is doing, I would not trust them with a case of verifying a contestant's ID. I mean, the contestant comes with a name that seems to indicate that she's a child of immigrants. Her name is Chidimma Adetshina. So right off the bat, the beautiful young lady's name is obviously not a typical South African name. It is a name that is said to be Nigerian. I think if they do verify contestants' citizenship, a name like this could have caused a Miss South Africa verification team to be slightly alarmed and actually verify her citizenship with Home Affairs, wouldn't you say? Her name is what caused ordinary citizens of South Africa to be concerned about her citizenship. Yet that went over the head of Miss South Africa. From seeing her name and the flags that she had displayed on her social media, not a South African flag, but rather a Nigerian flag and a Mozambican flag, many concerned citizens of South Africa wanted Chidimma Adetshina's citizenship to be ironed out. We are living in a country where people have been buying South African identity documents. This is not fiction. South Africans have been robbed of opportunities left, right, and center simply because people with money, be it drug money or honestly gotten money, can afford to bribe Home Affairs officials. So when citizens hear that a person with a clearly non-South African name and surname is competing in Miss South Africa, we cannot blame them for wondering about her citizenship, now can we? So when Gayton McKenzie was asked about Chidimma Adetshina's competing in the Miss South Africa pageant, he said the following.
We must never be deaf. The people that voted for me are confronting me as their leader and say, can you check this woman is not South African? And I said, no, we can't just make the accusation. Let us check into the matter. And, I can't be blamed for saying that, so I should just ignore the people that voted for me. I can't do that.
He's not wrong. He definitely should be concerned. As a Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, he's voicing his opinion. As a person who campaigned against the uncontrolled influx on foreigners into this country, he is sharing his concern about how a non-South African may potentially be taking an opportunity from a South African. Being Miss South Africa is not a special skills contest. It is a beauty contest. Are we in short supply of beautiful young women in this country? Are we? Tell me. So in response to Gayton McKenzie, a member of parliament who herself was also under the spotlight regarding her nationality, came to the defense of Chidimma. Naledi Chirwa said the following, I quote, "You are not patriotic at all. You don't know the South African Constitution. You don't respect South African governance office at executive level. You don't know South African history. You don't know South African statistics on anything, not even your favorite subject." Next to that comment, she also said this, I quote, "You don't respect South Africans' laws. And this isn't historic. Even today, you don't stand with South Africa when we stand with Palestine. Just bigotry. You've got all the time to take on a black South African woman, but hid behind boop when questioned about the white Minister of Home Affairs. Hate weak men." Imagine that. Naledi Chirwa, whose citizenship was also being questioned not so long ago, rushed to defend Chidimma. How do you rush to defend her when you don't know all the facts? You were not there when she was born and you did not see her or her mother's ID. How do you know that she is South African? Naledi even says Gayton McKenzie is not patriotic. Imagine. Guys, this is scary. Protecting your country is patriotism. So how does ensuring that South Africa and South Africans are protected make Gayton McKenzie not patriotic? What is worse is that Gayton McKenzie did not say Chidimma is not South African, but rather said, "I just returned from Paris and will definitely get more information tomorrow. We truly cannot have Nigerians compete in our Miss South Africa competition. I want to get all facts before I comment, but it gives funny vibes already." So which part of his comment was not patriotic? The part where he said we truly cannot have Nigerians compete in Miss South Africa competition? Is that the unpatriotic part? Yeah, ne? Some people just rush to respond to tweets and expose their silliness in the process, I tell you. I will simply refer you to the person who answered her better. Lux Lamini responded to this EFF fool by saying the following. "Bro, we are seeing drug busts every day about foreigners in our country. If we speak out, our own politicians will silence us. They will tell us to focus on Palestine. Meanwhile, 84 South Africans die daily. South Africans die hungry. SA must be Mother Teresa to Africa. What more can I say? Like Slamini said it well. Those are the real facts. The EFF is more concerned about Palestine and the rest of Africa than it is about South Africa. They love the people of Palestine and other African countries more than they love the people of South Africa. They want to be elected into the South African government, but they clearly are not there for the South African citizens. They are there to push a globalist agenda. Take note, EFF supporters. The writing is on the wall. Borderless Africa, they call it. They simply do not hold South Africa above all other countries. Palestine is not South Africa. Simply because Palestine stood with the ANC during apartheid does not mean that we as South Africans must now stand with Palestine no matter what. We stand with what is right. No one voted for the ANC or the EFF for the sake of Palestine. South Africans vote for the sake of South Africans, South African lives, South African homes, South African safety and success. That is what matters. Gayton is concerned for the sake of the South African citizens, and what does he get labeled? He's a bigot. He hates a black South African woman. Already defending Chidimma. How does she know that this woman is South African? But I guess she doesn't care, and she's not alone in this. Here's her boss.
Citizenship is determined by where you were born. So if she was born here, she's South African. It doesn't matter who they are. She's not her parents. She's herself. So why do you want to say she's from Nigeria or she's from Mozambique? She was born here. In America, actually, I don't know how many months, if I'm not wrong, if you are 6 months pregnant or so, they don't allow you to visit. Because they know that once you visit and you stay there and you give birth there, that child is American. Yeah, they know that as long, you don't have to be American.
Yeah.
It's born in a hospital there.
Yeah.
Must be certified immediately that this is the child who was born in America. This is an American citizen. So we can't do that. We cannot punish people on the basis of where their parents come from. So I've not followed the debate. I don't know if she's South African or not. But I would guess the Miss South Africa company would have done the necessary due diligence and come to a conclusion that she's a suitable candidate to contest. So those are the things that are actually engineered by those who are spreading hatred amongst African people. Such people should not be supported.
These people will say and do anything to push their borderless South Africa, ne? Julius Malema believes that simply being born in South Africa gives you the right to be called South African. A whole leader of an 11-year-old political party does not know the laws of the nation. Imagine. Here is a Home Affairs official to clarify.
Now, firstly, let me just take you through the principle that there are two ways in the world that a person becomes a citizen. It is what is called from the word jus sanguinis, which is Italy, and jus sanguinis comes from the principle of that you become a citizen by birth if you are born of one of your parents must be of that particular country. The other one being jus soli, which is the principle of land, that you are born within the borders of that particular country. Here in South Africa, we then use what the principle of jus sanguinis, which has to do with the right to citizenship by blood. And by blood, I mean that either one of your parents or both of your parents are actually South African. Then you then get citizenship by blood.
So that clarifies how a person can become a citizen of South Africa, even if one of their parents is not South African. We know that Chidimma's father is Nigerian, so for her to be South African, her mother is supposed to be South African. Question is Chidimma Adetshina's mother South African? Take a look at this.
Preliminary investigations by the Department of Home Affairs has released a statement to say that an investigation has found that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidimma Adetshina's mother.
From the information we have uncovered thus far, the Department of Home Affairs can indicate that prima facie reasons exist to believe that fraud and identity theft may have been committed by the person recorded recorded in Home Affairs records as Chidimma Adetshina's mother, an innocent South African mother whose identity may have been stolen as part of the alleged fraud, suffered as a result because she could not register her child. The department has broadened its investigation to identify and pursue any officials involved in the alleged scheme and is obtaining legal advice on the implications of the alleged fraudulent activity on Adetshina's citizenship status. And finally, upon the completion of the investigation, Home Affairs intends to press criminal charges and convict all implicated parties. This case, which stems from alleged fraudulent activities committed 23 years ago, highlights the urgent need for the digital modernization of Home Affairs applications, adjudication and verification processes.
Imagine fraud and identity theft. Chidimma Adetshina's mother committed fraud, obviously being assisted by someone from Home Affairs. What's more, the South African woman whose identity was stolen suffered because of this. But the EFF wants you to turn a blind eye to all the facts and simply believe that since Chidimma was born here, it is her right to be South African. But the fact is, simply being born here does not allow you that right. Many Zimbabweans enter South Africa to give birth in our hospitals. Are you telling us that they too are now South Africans? What kind of stupidity is this? From my interaction with Zimbabwean women who give birth in South Africa, they are given a proof of birth to go back home to register their child's birth and get them Zimbabwean birth certificates which indicate that the child is Zimbabwean. They may have given birth in South Africa, but their children are Zimbabwean citizens. Don't let the EFF confuse you.
So what happens in an instance where the parents, both of them, are of other countries, so of other nationalities? Let me put it that way. I'm not sure in this particular case whether they would have obtained naturalized citizenship, but at the time of birth, they registered the birth through our Birth and Death Registration Act, or at least attempted to do so while they come from other countries.
Well, a child that is born in South Africa is not a South African citizen, especially if both parents are from other nationalities. What we do as a Home Affairs, we take the responsibility because we can't have people who are stateless. When that particular child is born, we issue what we call a notice of birth, which means we notify the country of origin that there is a citizen of yours that has been born here. It is therefore the responsibility of those parents to take the notice of birth to the embassy and register the child with the country that the child is belonging to.
The woman whose identity was stolen suffered as she could not register her own child whom she gave birth to. Naledi Chirwa, do you care about that South African woman whose identity was stolen? Do you care about her South African child born 23 years ago? What does all this tell Naledi Chirwa? Naledi and Julius are both leaders within the EFF. They are members of parliament, guys. These are people who make laws and govern South Africa, rushing to defend what everyone can see is suspicious. Leave her alone. Why? Because she's a black woman. I'm telling you, as long as the fight is about emotions, race, and gender instead of facts, stupid decisions will be made. Hence, we say, facts first, cry later. I ask you again, do you fear being labeled crazy names? Do you fear being labeled xenophobic? Do you fear being labeled racist? Do you fear being labeled a bigot? This is your country. Do not be bullied by the EFF or these so-called celebrities that stand up to defend people without knowing whether they are criminals or not, without knowing whether people have obtained their IDs through fraud or not. These so-called right activists who are living high lives and defending things that are anti-South African. Stand tall and fight for your country. This is our country. We are allowed to ask if someone is South African or not. When it comes to the truth, there are people who will always try to shut you up. Don't be scared of those people. Remember that if we are not careful, we are going to elect people into government positions when they are not even South African. This exact thing happening with her, it could have been happening in government. Think about that. Well done, Minister Leon Schreiber. Please pursue the case. But honestly, I'm not happy with the fact that it took so long to respond to this case. You guys probably have poor filing there, and hopefully the modernization of Home Affairs will happen soon. We need to hear you working louder on that side too. Minister, it is time to start deportations and start with these kinds of people. Audit all people who your Home Affairs system and officials find to be Nigerian, Zimbabwean, Malawian, and other nationalities with ill-gotten South African IDs. Let's root out the rot. Deport, deport, deport. Minister Gayton McKenzie, continue. Do not be afraid to ask the questions. Don't be scared of Naledi Chirwa, Julius Malema, the media, these unpatriotic celebrities in South Africa, and their manipulative communist podcasters. Well done, Minister Gayton McKenzie, the former criminal with no degree, but with more common sense than all the educated EFF leaders combined. Stay original, Gayton. I hope you continue to speak up and tell things as you believe. Patriotic Alliance and the DA are the ones standing out to me within this GNU so far. If elections were to come tomorrow, I know my options would be these two. You guys are the brooms that sweep. We don't care what color the cat is, as long as it catches mice. Yes, the new broom sweeps best, but the ANC has had many new brooms circulating into ministerial positions. But these brooms here sweep, and I love it. Sweep away, ministers. Well done to all the concerned citizens of South Africa who kept asking the right questions and not relenting until the questions were answered. Be proud. That is patriotism. You may have made the dreams of some poor girl come true. Your efforts have brought success.
Chidimma Adetshina has withdrawn from the Miss South Africa pageant. This comes after the Patriotic Alliance instituted urgent legal action against Adetshina and Miss South Africa in order to prevent her from participating. This after Home Affairs found evidence that Adetshina's mother, who has Mozambican roots, may have committed fraud and identity theft in obtaining South African citizenship. Now, the department says it's considering legal action after it concludes investigations.
Good. Very good. Drop out. I mean, it is too bad for her. Maybe she didn't know, but still, it's very bad for her. Her mother and father should have warned her that, hey, we got these papers illegally, so don't do this. We might get found out. Now we need action to be taken against her mother and the officials who helped her mother. I'm thinking something along the lines of jail time, and after that, deportation. Remember, guys, this was not what others want to call a victimless crime. There are victims here. Identity theft closes too many doors. The fact that she qualified to fit into the Miss South Africa competition means a poor girl missed out on that opportunity. I hope Miss South Africa rectified that and reinstated the rightful owner of that position, a true South African. Well done to all concerned citizens of South Africa who refused to be silenced by the labels, even from people of influence and authority. This is your country, South Africa. You fought for it, and please keep fighting for it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and share this video. Also, please don't forget to subscribe. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.